Midnight is a funny word out here. On land, you've got clocks, church bells, candles that burn down to the nub. You know when the day flips. Out on the water, midnight is more of a decision. You decide this is the moment. This is when we call it Christmas. This is when we ring the bells and pretend the sea isn't listening. On some ships, they held midnight mass on deck. A priest, if they had one, a hymn if they didn't. A handful of candles jammed into whatever would stand upright in the wind. Voices trying to rise over the creak of the hull and the hush of the waves. Tonight, night 12, I'm doing my own version of that. No altar, no chapel. Just a haunted sea. A radio that should still be working. And you. Consider this a roll call. Midnight mass on a ship that took a wrong turn in the Spectral Sea and kept going. If you've been with me since night 1, you know who's about to walk down the aisle. Ghost ships, cursed bells, sirens, drowned cities, polar hulks, lost ports, miracles, and failures. All the Christmas ghosts we've picked up along the way. Take your places, light what candles you have. The service is about to begin. You're listening to Dead Reckoning Radio. I'm the captain of the Christmas cruise that didn't make it back. This is night 12, midnight mass on a haunted sea. No more nights after this, no more numbers. Just whatever we can fit into one last broadcast before the bells. If you strip away the decorations and the carols, Christmas Eve is a roll call. Families counting heads at the table, congregations counting who made it to pews despite the weather, harbors counting which ships got in before the ice, which ones they're still waiting on. On land, midnight mass is all about being seen. You stand, you sit, you kneel, you sing. You light candles from each other's flames. You ring bells to say, we're still here. We made it through another year. The world has always had its own ghostly roll calls too, even if it doesn't use those words. The Spectral Sea you've heard me talk about isn't just some extra chapter in a fantasy book. It's the bleed point where all those real-world mysteries, ancient civilizations, and strange sightings brush against something deeper, the pulse beneath the page. The people write off as triangle disappearances, ghost fleets, unsolved shipwrecks, time-bent storms, are all, in this canon we sail by, side effects of the same system grinding under the surface. The aftershocks of Atlantis, the relic grid, and the fracture zones where the Spectral Sea leaks into your maps. Every Christmas, people stand in warm buildings and tell themselves the door is closed against the chaos. Candles inside, darkness outside. But if you listen, really listen, under the hymns and the organ and the bells, there's another rhythm. Waves against rock. Wind and rigging that hasn't existed for 100 years. The low pulse of something very old, still trying to reconnect the pieces it lost when Atlantis split and bled into every myth you've ever heard. Consider this mass a kind of acknowledgement. A reminder that your quiet church, your living room, your port town with its Christmas lights are all built on top of scars and circuits that remember more than you think. Out here, the mass doesn't happen in one place. It happens everywhere at once. I can tell you this is just me on the bridge talking into a mic, but that would be like calling the Spectral Sea just bad weather. The ocean is the drift layer. The debris field of Atlantis is collapse. The current where wrecked timelines mirror harbors and ghost fleets swirl together. So when I say midnight mass, here's what I mean. Stand at the rail and call roll. The ghost ships answer first. Hull shapes half seen in the fog, names eaten off their sterns, some from your history books, and some from futures that never made it past a fracture. Then the cursed bells. You heard one of them back on night 5 ringing where it shouldn't. Tonight its tone slides in under my words slow and steady. The sound of time keeping count whether we want it to or not. The sirens don't sing the way the stories say. They come in as snippets of cold carols, voices layered and distorted, like someone tuning between distant Christmas broadcasts and landing on all of them at once. The drowned cities glow far below, those seafloor Christmas villages we talked about on night 9, streets that never quite accept the party ended, still lit in the dark, still waiting for someone to come home. The polar hulks answer with groaning ice and frozen metal, the high-latitude scars where the spectral fog calcifies and time waits instead of echoing. The lost ports send up their twin lights, real harbors on your side staying steady, and their spectral reflections, mirror harbors, remembering every ship that bled through, every deal, every betrayal, every toll paid in memory instead of money. The miracles and failures, those arrive as silence. For every ship that got the truce, that found the gap in the storm, there's another that the sea decided not to spare. Their absence is as loud as any hymn. And somewhere woven through all of it are the sounds you've heard all season. That bell again, the carols that turned into drowned voices, the groan of ice from the hulks, the low horn or leviathan breath from the deep. They're not flashbacks, they're participants. I'm not just remembering the cycle, I'm officiating it. This is the ship's Christmas service now. Ghosts in the invisible pews, echoes of past episodes sitting side by side like parishioners who've learned to live with each other's hauntings. And at the center of it all, behind the mic, is me, the captain who knows how this should end and is about to tell you why it doesn't. Alright, candles are lit, the roll has been called. Time for the part I've been circling since night 1. I'm going to say this plainly once so there's no misunderstanding. I know I can go back. Not in the abstract, not as a theory. I have gone back. There are mirror harbors. Fixed portals where your world and this spectral layer line up. Just enough to let a ship like mine slip close to shore without tearing the vein map to pieces. I have taken those crossings. I have used them to resupply. Food, fuel, things that don't grow well in a place built from memory and fracture mechanics. I stood in air that wasn't part of this drift. Heard the modern world rushing around me. Watched people who don't know how thin the wall is between their port and the twin that remembers every toll ever paid. If my story wanted a comfortable miracle, it could end there. Captain lost, Captain found, news cameras, interviews, a nice clean closer for your Christmas special. But that isn't what happened. Here's the twist, if you want to call it that. Given the choice, I keep coming back here. To the Spectral Sea. To this ship. To this looped Christmas that lets me speak into the dark, where ley lines and stories and lost crews all intersect. Why? Not because I'm cursed to. Because somewhere along the way, the axis of home tilted. The real world, your world, started to feel thin, rushed, strangely hollow. Like a place that only remembers the surface of its myths, not the engines buried underneath. Here in this lore ecosystem, everything I talk about hangs together. Atlantis is more than legend, a Stargate ship nexus whose collapse still powers the currents beneath us. The Spectral Sea is her scar, a drift layer of debris, identity, and time trying to reattach to meaning. Mirror harbors as thresholds that don't move ships, but sort memory, motive, and consequence. Out here, my warnings and stories matter in a way they don't ashore. On land, I'm an anomaly to be explained away, a problem to be solved, a headline to scroll past. Out here, I'm a piece of the machinery. I'm not saying this with self-pity. I'm saying it with the kind of acceptance you only get after counting the same passengers, checking the same manifests, and walking through the same Christmas party enough times to realize you're not accidentally trapped in it anymore. You're part of the staff. It's my post. I can step sideways one more time, try to stay where the clocks are solid and the streets don't move. Or I can keep the watch that, for better or for worse, I've already been standing. So I'm making the choice. The sea may have taken me first, the fractures may have rewritten the route, but I'm the one who keeps turning back toward the water when the doors open. Call it madness, call it loyalty, call it knowing in your bones where your story makes the most sense. I choose the Spectral Sea. I choose this haunted Christmas loop. I choose to keep broadcasting, as long as the currents let this signal ride. So this is it. 12 nights, 12 stories. One long midnight mass for all the things the world would rather call coincidence and walk past. We've lit our candles, we've named our ghosts. We've traced the scars of Atlantis, the fracture zones, the ghost fleets, the mirror harbors, the miracles, the miscounts. If you're waiting for a clear answer, did the captain finally make it home, or is he lost forever, you're going to be disappointed, because the truth doesn't fit into either line item. I can step through a door that leads back to your side. I have stepped through it, enough to know the taste of that air again. And now, with all of that in my logbook, I'm turning back toward the fog. Does that count as escape? Or is it just me sinking deeper into where I actually belong? You tell me. Maybe the next time you're near the water at night, harbor, pier, balcony over a dark sea, you'll hear a voice skimming the static between stations. If you do, you'll know which way I decided to steer. Until then, if you want to keep a hand on the map, there's one more thing I can give you. A shoreside archive. A place where the signals are being bottled, logged, and maybe, just maybe, decoded. You'll find it at signalassaultai.com/seas of mystery. Think of it as a chart room on land, a way to keep track of the currents, even when you're not out here with me. This is your missing captain, keeper of the midnight mass, officiant of this haunted little Christmas, standing watch on the Spectral Sea for now.